Welcome to Tech Anarchy, episode 11. I am your host, Tim Harris, and with me, my co-host, partner in crime, Jennifer Ruggiero.
Hi, Tim.
Hi, Jennifer. How are you doing this week?
I have been doing wonderful this week. I got my Google Glass this week, so it has been a lot of fun. Yeah.
Oh, do tell. So, do you sleep with it on? Is it water resistant?
Okay, so that's interesting, the water resistant question, because I was outside hiking this morning with them on, and my dog and I got caught in a downpour. I did take them off and put them in a backpack on my back and then ran the trails back to the car. Anyway, it seemed to stay pretty dry. It got a little bit wet, but no, it's not meant, I don't think, to be soaked in a rainstorm or in a shower like Robert Scoble did. So you definitely, but it is more kind of resistant, so.
Well, I choose not to watch the Scoble video, but I can tell you with full confidence that my eyeglasses, my eyewear, is 100% water resistant.
Ah, yes, I would
Even
hope
though there's
so.
no digital component to it whatsoever. So,
I would hope so. Yeah, I mean, I think it's, it's definitely resistant. If you're caught in the rain, then it'll be fine. But you want, it's not waterproof, that's for sure. And, you don't want to keep it wet or in water or in those conditions for too long.
right.
Kind of like my Nike Fuel Band is water resistant. And, I had that out this morning and stayed on me the whole time while we were running. And it was wet, but it's working fine still, so.
Oh, cool. Yeah, that's one thing I like about my Fitbit is that it goes on the waist. And normally, if it's raining, you're wearing extra gear like a rain jacket or something like that.
That's
So
true.
it's kind of covered up.
Yeah, it stays protected. Good point.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's, that obviously, in my mind, signifies room for improvement on Google's part, to maybe create like some type of coating that's water resistant for their wearables.
Yeah. And I, in all fairness, I haven't really, I mean, it looks like it's pretty waterproof. They say it's very durable or water resistant. I didn't read anything about water resistance, but it looks like it is, and it seemed to handle the rain fine today, so.
Cool. So you can jog in a light spritz of a rainstorm.
That's you go. There you go.
What has been your most favorite aspect to wearing Google Glass so far?
I really enjoy the taking a video and having it be like a first-person video. So yesterday I took some videos, and then they're doing, Google's doing the whole auto awesome thing with the videos. So not only do you take a video, it's just that what they do is so cool. You take the video, and then, a couple of other shots as well. And then at the end of the day, I'm always having these little, you have a new auto awesome pop up. And it will stitch everything together and take bits and pieces of the video and put them together along with still shots and then put music to it. And it makes the most fun creation. It's just really cool. And so I've been kind of having fun with that, but I really enjoy taking first-person videos, taking photos with winking my right eye. I just wink my eye, and then I can take a photo. Chatting with you on Hangouts this morning. I was doing that verbally while I was on the trails with you.
That's cool. So there is a audio component to classes as well.
Audio and video too, so you can do live video hangouts. So I tried that out with some friends, and they were able to see everything that I was seeing with my physical eyes, and then I was able to see them on video as well, or whatever they were showing on their camera, and so that worked out pretty cool too. I really enjoyed that. And what else? I've just been using it for basic Google searches. I was in a store the other night looking for something else, and I ended up stumbling upon a great deal on something I wasn't looking for. And so I Googled it. I said, okay, Glass, Google, and then I named the item. It was a juicer. Google this, whatever juicer it was. And then, I was able to see the price in my eye of what it costs online and compare it to see whether or not it would be worth buying there in the store. So things like that, just typical stuff, but it's convenient. It's so convenient because it's always on you, and you don't have to grab your phone out. It's, you just tap the side of your eyewear, or you can tilt your head back 30 degrees, and then Google Glass is activated that way as well. So you don't even have to touch it,
Oh, wow. So in Star Trek, they had, where they lightly tap their kind of their right or left breast area to activate their little recording unit.
Right.
And now you're saying that you can just tap the Google Glass.
Yep.
To the side, I guess.
Yeah. You tap the side of Google Glass, and it comes on. The picture shows, and it prompts you with what to say. So, of course, it says "OK Glass," and that's what you need to say. But then the next screen prompts you with a different list of different prompts that you can ask it. And so that way, if you forget something, then And the nice thing is there's a lot of different apps, third-party apps, and when you install those apps, then, those prompts become available on the screen.
Oh, that's awesome. So can you install an app while wearing the Google Glass, or do you have to connect your Google Glass to a laptop or tablet device in order to install apps? Why don't you go into that a little
It's all done over the air. And there is a website you go to on your PC or on your Mac, whatever, on your computer, and it's a Glass website, and they have a list of the apps there. And so all you do is you just click what you want to install, and then it kind of, and it does it over the air, kind of like when you install for an Android user, and iOS does this now too, but for Android with Google Play, you browse the Google Play Market on the computer, and then you click install, and it installs it on your device. It does the same thing with Glass.
That's so awesome. So everything's over the air. You don't have to sync the hardware to any other larger device.
No.
I guess to charge, though.
So to charge, you want to plug it in. If you want to delete images and videos off your Glass without going through each one and hitting delete, you do need to tether it to your computer and then import. The only way I've been able to do it on a Mac is I need to open up iPhoto or Aperture or some photo app, import the photos, and then delete the photos. I haven't been able to actually tether it and see it as a drive on my Mac and delete them manually. I think on the Windows machines you can, but not on the Macs.
So I guess as the Google Glass Wear becomes more readily available for everybody, maybe more cost, more cheap, cheaper, that we should be expecting maybe a suite of Google apps to complement like an iPhone or iPad device if you're iOS. And I'm assuming if you're an Android user, you already have a suite of programs or applications that you can download for Google Glass, or?
Well, there is a My Glass app, and that's used in setting up your glass and connecting it to the network, and that app is also available for iOS. And from what I can tell, you can pretty much. I have not synced this up with my iOS device, but you can pretty much do the same stuff with the iOS than you can with Android. So it does work fine with your iPhone.
Wow.
So there are a lot of iPhone users that are using it. The one thing I don't like is I don't necessarily enjoy being the center of attention. I think I'm kind of an introvert, even though I might not be on the podcast. And so I don't like drawing attention to myself when I'm out and about. I'm not that kind of person. I wish I were, but I'm not. So when I wear these out, it just, people look at me, and that makes me feel kind of weird. I don't want them to look at me.
Well, I think we have recorded in a previous episode that's exactly what you were going for. You were going for a fashion statement.
Oh, I do want to make it a fashion item, and I just don't around here. Okay, I think if I were in San Francisco, fine. If I were in LA, whatever. If I were in a city, okay, cool. People are going to get it. But here, people look at me like,
you're crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
I get the time driving an electric car. Everyone's like, you're crazy. But you know what? There's one thing that just driving my EV for the amount of time that I've been driving it, there's one thing that there's one thing that brings about change. There's offering the change itself, like whether that be through innovation or some type of disruption. But then the other type of change can just be brought about by having a conversation. And we mentioned this in a previous episode. One way to start the conversation is by showing, or just by starting it, right? And one of the best ways to do that is through the use of tech, and cutting edge tech, actually. And that's one thing that I just so happen to bring every time I drive an EV. There's always someone that says, oh wow, that's an EV. But before, they didn't even think they sold EVs.
Interesting.
And they didn't even think people purchased EVs.
Wow. When
actually the adoption rate is quite high in the Dallas area. And, I think that's one thing great about what you're doing is that, there are people out there that might not even think the whole glass thing exists. They might think that it's just marketing speak, but you're actually wearing it, and you're out wearing it, and you're showing people that not only is it safe to wear, but that, it's something that's reachable or attainable, and that starts a conversation. Because although I know you probably aren't comfortable with it, but these same people are coming home telling their family members and significant others, hey, guess what I saw today.
Good point. I did remember the first night I wore it out, and we went out to go eat, and this couple at the table, I could tell the girl was kind of looking at me through the corner of the eye, and then she said something.
Did you take a picture?
No, I didn't. But she said she said something to the guy across, and he just kind of like nonchalantly kind of leaned back and turned his head and looked at me, and then, like as if it was like an inconspicuous type of look. And I'm just like, yeah, I know totally what you guys are doing. And I thought it was funny because, it's like when someone tells you, hey, look at that guy over there. No, don't look now, but, just, and you kind of do the look. Yeah, that's what they did.
That's awesome. Well, I mean, you just need to be wearing like, now being the Christmas times, like this horrible Christmas sweater.
Oh, God.
And just go all out and, it's not the Google Glass, it's my sweater.
I'll have to order some G-Pop stuff. There's Gpop.com has these decals that you can put on the glass. So they have like something for 2014, like Happy New Year, and but then they have nice little patterns as well.
Very cool.
So maybe I'll get something like that. The one thing I do notice that when people do see me and I'm in a line in a grocery store or another type of store, that they look at me and then they try not to look. And it's kind of like when they notice there's something on my head that's different, and they kind of look at it, and then they kind of avoid making eye contact, and because they don't want to be rude for staring or asking. They don't ask questions. No one has asked me a question yet.
Interesting, because I'm driving my EV and everybody asks me questions.
That's awesome.
The strangers, even the poor, they'll come up. They find, because I fill up at Walgreens, and unfortunately they're, people outside of Walgreens, and they find it as a great segue to ask me for money. Hey, that's an electric vehicle. Even they understand what an electric vehicle is. But no, I'll have people just literally walk clear across the parking lot to talk to me. Mm-hmm. And
wow.
they're like, I've seen it. I've seen the fuel pump there or the charger there, but I never knew that people actually used it. And they say, I just have to ask you, what's it like? Because everybody's looking for a way to save money. And obviously we get into costs and stuff, and it's probably not for you right now, but then at the same time, I am not paying for gas. That is true.
Yeah,
So, but it's interesting that you're getting that kind of response. That's not the response I'm looking for, actually.
No, and it hasn't been, it has only been, in all fairness, not even a full week yet. It's only been since, when did I get it? Wednesday?
Mm-hmm. So give it
Sunday?
time.
Right.
Give time for everybody in the city to understand who Jennifer Ruggiero is, and then they'll start asking you questions.
I think if I were to get out even more, I mean, those are just, I've been to 3 restaurants with them on, and 2 stores. So that's it. So
is there like a feed or something where everybody can see your Google Glass progress? Or
if they were just to go to my Google Plus page, I have been posting photos, and mainly just photos, and everything is tagged with the hashtag through glass, so you can kind of see
cool.
what I'm doing there. Yeah.
Now, can you set the hashtag yourself, or because I noticed that, is that something that they set, or
they set? So when you post through glass, it's always going to say through glass, but then
Okay.
you can also verbalize hashtags. So the other day, yesterday was Catter Day, so I did a couple
No,
of
I did not
posts.
know, but
So I posted a couple. All I had to do was say hashtag Catter Day, and it did the hashtag symbol and put Catter Day, and I posted some pictures of my cat. So
very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. Well, okay, and we'll, if you're okay with it, we'll have to post that in the show notes.
Sure, no problem at all.
Awesome. Well, we have a lot of items to cover in the news, so are you ready for this?
Let's get started.
Okay, so the first article of interest, I mean, it's very hard to miss this story, because actually it's, other than Snowden releasing all the information regarding the NSA and cybersecurity initiatives everywhere, there's the Target story, which just blew up this week.
Wow.
Yeah. So I actually start kind of at the end of the story, where Target is apologizing once again and offering a 10% discount, which I don't know if you've actually seen the video of the CEO saying he's sorry.
No, I haven't seen it.
The 10% discount that he's offering to consumers was the same 10% discount that he shares with his employees or his stakeholders, or whatever the buzzword is these days for that.
Is it 10% off to anyone that would have purchased during this time frame using a credit card?
It very well could be. I don't know. I mean, for one thing, I don't know how they're going to prove that you indeed used the credit card.
No, I don't know.
Or that, because they're one of the things that I'll be posting in the show notes is that, banking institutions are still trying to figure out who indeed was compromised, which cards were compromised. That unfortunately is, how they can offer 10% to people that they're not, maybe based on shopping history records. I don't know how they're going to do that.
This whole thing is just shocking. I mean, that
Isn't
something
it?
of this magnitude, for this long too, since Black Friday up until like a week ago, this happened.
Right.
Yeah.
So obviously you're asking yourself, how did this happen?
Yeah.
I think everybody is. And there are a few rumors out there. But the one that I think is most interesting is that it was an inside job, and that insiders planted malware in the electronic cash registers attached to the card readers, which pretty much read all the cards.
Wow.
Now, the problem is that if you were to comply to PCI compliancy, this would not be an issue, because PCI compliance stipulates that you should not be housing the CVV data.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, Target was.
I didn't think that was.
It's not.
Okay.
You're not supposed to, trust me. They broke a lot of rules with this, and they will be fined. I believe we have 4 states whose state attorneys are actively seeking some type of formal, like legal response as a result of this. And we also have class action lawsuits that have started up in San Francisco and Orange County. But this to me is a huge deal for or has huge ramifications on small businesses, in that I think you're going to see government regulation come from this. And I think they're going to make PCI compliance a mandatory requirement.
Good.
Right now, it's just been kind of like a buy-in kind of thing. It's good to be PCI compliant, and I believe you're actually fined if you're not. But no one's really like, there aren't active rules or regulations around being PCI compliant. I think it's just one of those things that you want to get to, but certain people do have to be PCI compliant, but not everyone. And I think this is going to totally change that. It's good in the sense that you just automatically assume that everybody's PCI compliant, that no one's storing this data, but that's not the case.
Well, let me ask you this. So you have, as far as these cards go with this data, has there been any proof so far that people have used these credit cards or have sold them? Okay.
Yes. So within the past 24 hours, that's one thing that has come to light, is that we're already seeing stolen credit cards on the black market.
Wow.
So they are already being sold and auctioned off. I believe the news was saying one way to see if you've been compromised is by just seeing small charges. But right when you see those small charges, to immediately one thing to do obviously is to change your CVV. But if you start seeing the small charges, to actively change your CVV and other information.
You know what I would do is I would just, if I were shopping at Target during this time, I know it's a pain, but I just call the bank and say, hey, I was one of the people that was shopping at Target. Just to be safe, I'd like to have a new card issued.
Well, that's a great point. So the banks would rather prove that your card has been stolen than reissue you a card. Because right now, the number is about $3 to $5 a card for reissuance. Wow. So when you think about 40 million cards compromised, that's a lot of money.
I would still demand that the bank do that anyway, because, I have an agreement with the bank and they get a certain percentage. And, if you have credit cards with them, and if you don't pay it off before the end of the month, they're, collecting on interest fee. They make enough money.
Oh,
I demand
I'm definitely not arguing with you, but playing devil's advocate, good luck. Good luck. The very last thing they want to do is reissue you a card.
Yeah.
They would rather put caps on how much you can spend during the day, and that's exactly what they're doing right now. The banks that know that they had cards compromised, they're actually capping you at about $100. So that, the hackers can't really use more than $100.
So were you one of the ones that did you shop at Target during this time?
I shopped right before that time, so I was not compromised. And the thing is, this did not affect the Target.com user base. This only affected the people that use their card reader system.
That's another reason not to go to the store to buy purchase things. Just buy online. I was at the mall.
I knew you'd say that.
I was at the mall yesterday just because I had to pick up some glasses from Lens Crafters, right? So I was not happy about having to go to the mall. I was just like, because, it's Christmas time. And anyway... And so as I'm walking in the mall with my friend, I'm looking at the parking lot was packed. And I said, I can't believe this parking lot is packed. I said, do these people not shop online? I was like, my guess is that these people that are in this mall are uneducated. And and I said, let's take a poll. Let's just watch the people as we walk in and guess on whether or not they would have a clue to go shop online. Well, I think I was right, because the majority of the people... So
you think you're right, majority of people are stupid?
In that mall, yeah, they were. I mean, you just saw, and I don't mean to put these people down, but
although you just did,
but I just did. But they were all, just like they looked like they wouldn't be educated. I'll just put it that way. They looked as if they would be uneducated. So that my theory holds true. There you go.
Oh man, for one that's not into profiling, you're a great profiler.
Well, anyway, no, but in all seriousness, this is just all poking fun. But yeah, why shop on Amazon? Yeah,
shop on Amazon. But aren't we waiting for the day when hackers break into Amazon? What then?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think if anything, from all this fallout, who's going to be hurt the most are the small companies that cannot afford to be PCI compliant, because that, although it's something that everybody assumes from their credit card transaction online, is that it will be PCI compliant, that none of their data is recorded. In the small brick and mortar locations, I'm not going to name any, but cannot really afford to be PCI compliant. Instead, they hope that other people are. And one of the news items that I have later on is very bad for that as well. But they're going to be the ones impacted the most at a time where, the economy is kind of, just sputtering along. And this is just one more thing that's going to hurt investment. So, yeah, so this is a developing story, one that we'll be closely monitoring, and stay tuned to the Twitter sphere, because I've been actively tweeting everything that's been going on. And just a word of caution, nothing's safe. Don't think that just because you're physically swiping anything that makes it safer than an online purchase. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
I guess really the safest form of buying would be using cash, but then you'd have to go to a store. So, but yeah, cash I guess would be the safest way to go. But it's so inconvenient.
I know.
Yeah,
it's just horrible.
And it's dirty.
Like, it's so much effort to go to an ATM machine and withdraw money.
It's dirty, and it's I don't know. It's just an archaic form of spending, in my opinion.
Well, so what do you have in the news?
Oh, so on a different note, this is kind of fun. This made headlines a couple of days ago. No More Woof. Have you heard of No More Woof before?
No, I have not.
Okay.
Tell me about this.
So No More Woof is a business, a contraption. They make a contraption that reads dogs' brain waves and translates them into speech.
Oh my gosh, we are one step closer to Animal Farm.
I would love to have something like this for my dog. No?
With Rise of Planet of the Apes coming out next year,
this is not... Well, no, I don't want Planet of the Apes type stuff going on. But, to be able to know what my dog is saying, what he's thinking, if this were totally accurate, that would be really cool to be able to...
Free me from bondage.
Yeah, what if the wrong stuff were coming out that would just disturb you? Like if you could read your cat's thoughts or something,
Yeah, I don't want to be reading my cat's thoughts. And I think it's perfectly safe that we're talking about dogs first. So this is really cool. So how exactly do they do this? I mean, what's the tech?
There is a brainwave reading dog gadget that's powered by Raspberry Pi. And the sensors actually detect EEG brainwave patterns, and those patterns are translated into human speech equivalents and made audible through a speaker. So it's... it's all based upon their research and what they've noticed in I guess monitoring this with other dogs throughout the years. They figured out what would be equivalent to "I'm hungry," "I'm tired," "Who are you," for example. And right now it was they were actually raising funds. I think they still are raising funds on Indiegogo. Let me see here.
Wow, that's so cool.
Yeah, if you look up No More Woof on Indiegogo, they're on there as well. and they have 55 days left of their campaign, but they have already reached their goal. And
I mean, animal owners already pretty much know they may not know what their dogs are
yeah,
saying, but they definitely, I believe, know what dogs are trying to communicate. Like, I have this one, my dog, as an example, she was mad at me last night because I did not let her sleep on the bed. I actually wanted like a good sleep. And so she protests. She has her form of protesting, and she protests by not eating in the morning.
oh
Although I
my
know she's going to
gosh.
eat, and she knows that I like it when she eats, and it's something that makes Master happy, and it's something that she intentionally did not do this morning. And she will also do this thing when she's protesting, where she will just look at me outside, and when she doesn't need to go to the restroom, she will just slowly sit down out in the lawn. She'll
Oh,
just slowly sit down and look at me.
oh man,
She's
that's
like, nope,
funny.
nope,
That's
not going to
funny.
do it. Not going to do it.
Yeah,
So,
that's fun. And you're right. We know we can interpret their behaviors if we're good pet owners and mommies and daddies to our pets, to our dogs, and then you develop that type of relationship with them where you do already like I think I understand everything that he's thinking for the most part,
squirrel.
yeah, squirrel. Or he'll stare at me when I'm working at my desk, and usually it's because, hey, I have to go outside, and he comes and he tells me at my desk.
Yeah, what about me?
Yeah, and then there's the look, the look when he wants to play. So so I understand a lot of this stuff already, but if they could actually determine this and determine what they want to say even more, rather than just the generic, that would actually be quite cool to be able to translate it.
Yeah, totally. We did see, like, I believe, is this correct? But we did see a dog collar that tweets.
Oh, I didn't see that.
I thought there was some type of dog collar that tweets, but I was thinking what would be cooler is if this Normal Wolf project also tweeted.
Yeah, that would be neat.
So then you have like a "I'm hungry" tweet that you're able to see while working,
That
and
would be
I have to
so
feed my
cool.
dog, so
I'd
you
like
can go
that.
home. Or talking about the future for a second, what if you had devices like a food bowl that automatically dispensed when it saw a certain tweet from your dog?
That would be cool too.
Wouldn't that be cool?
Yeah, I like that.
So, there might be some benefits here. And if anybody takes any of my ideas, I expect a certain percentage. Jennifer and I do. Just FYI, putting that out here.
So, just I want to give mention of the creator of this project. It's by NSID. They're the Nordic Society for Invention and Discovery.
Ooh.
And yeah, that's who it is. So, they're raising funds through Indiegogo to go into further development for the device and come up with even, I guess, more accurate sayings and I guess more research in general. But pretty cool. Right now, the device only speaks English, but they are going to be making it in Mandarin, French, and Spanish in the near future.
Very cool. And, the Nordic Society, it has been covered on Discovery Channel, apparently, which is pretty cool. They're an open lab for networked creativity and experimentation. According to research, up to 57% of even the top 1,000 most innovative global companies are only marginal at idea creation, and at the same time, think their culture seriously hinders innovation. Which, I mean, that's very true. I'm reading that from their website. NSID, on the other hand, is all about fearless creation.
Fearless creation. I like that.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I would definitely like to see more of these devices. This is a great news item.
Yeah. That's pretty
And
good.
I believe it's like what, $65 or
Oh, so for the not Kickstarter, my bad, Indiegogo.
Indiegogo.
Gosh, thank you. You can. There's a $65 one. It comes with one sensor, and it will be able to distinguish 2 to 3 different thought patterns like tiredness, hunger, curiosity. And it comes with just a standard English voice that will be available in April 2014. There's another edition that's $85, and that's just a different. What is Merry Christmas edition? I don't know why they say Merry Christmas edition.
You probably get more for donating less or something like that.
I don't see. It just says the same. It's like the same product, but it's the Christmas edition.
Oh, maybe it's a special color.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. And then there's a $300 version for a 2-censored version that's able to distinguish 4 or more thought patterns. Mm-hmm. A $600 one, and that's a 2-censor, 4 or more thought patterns. Looks pretty much the same as the one above. I don't know why that's 600 and the other one is 300, but anyway.
Well, that's cool. I mean, for everyone that wants to understand their pets a little more, I think this would be an awesome little gadget to have.
Yeah. My thing is, I'm wondering if my dog would want to wear this device, and on him.
Yeah, it kind of looks like one of those old-fashioned, like, hearing aids you see depicted in movies, like 19th century hearing aids with, like, the little, amplifier that kind of sticks out.
Yeah, I'm wondering if this photo is an accurate picture or not. I think that's well, it's got to be. Otherwise, they wouldn't have it in there, I guess, right? Why would they advertise it? Yeah.
But see, I just think with you wearing Google Glass and then your dog wearing this device, it would just be, you guys would be quite the combo walking down the street. I'm just saying. Yeah.
It'd match mother and child. Yeah.
Not only will your dog speak to everybody around you, but you will be able to take pictures of their reactions.
Yes. I'll capture it all on video and pictures, images.
That's right.
That's funny. So, do you have anything else in the news?
I do. Actually, tech executives spoke to Obama this week.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, so it was supposed to be this summit on healthcare. Obama was looking for help for his botched website. Mm-hmm. Why he's looking for help now is beyond me. He should have been doing that before he started a website and seeking contract bids. Mm-hmm. But apparently the tech companies had only one thing in mind when they spoke to Obama, and that was the NSA spying revelations and how it's hurting business. So this to me was the first news article where we see actual fallout. Like, when I say actual fallout, I mean companies losing money from Snowden leaking this information.
Wow.
And that's huge, because now businesses are starting to take notice, right? Because their bottom line is being affected. Mm-hmm. And so, but what I think was most newsworthy from this event is not the fact that everybody got together and, talked to Obama about NSA surveillance. Whereas I even have my own little theory about what actually transpired, because, it's now rumored to be going to the Supreme Court, whether or not the NSA surveillance is constitutional. And my guess, along with the judge, is that it probably will be ruled unconstitutional. And what's going to be the damage? I mean, monetary damages to all these companies that were probably promised by the NSA that nothing would happen, that they'll never be caught doing what they're doing. Well, obviously, they're going to be liable, whether it be from the federal courts or civil. They're definitely going to be liable, because they pretty much broke every EULA that they made everybody sign.
Oh, that's right.
But so we had it was weird, because the Zynga founder was at this event, and he is reported, at least by The Verge, to having asked Obama to pardon Edward Snowden. And he was the only one that really, that's the elephant in the room, right? What would you do with this guy? We're getting new news every week. And we just got more news about it and that's another one of my news items from what he's leaked this week. But that's the elephant in the room. Do you pardon Edward Snowden? How much is enough? And I think companies, and we're just early on into this, but I think companies are already at that point. And maybe because the Zynga founder has nothing to lose, maybe he was the guy to bring it up, you know? Mm-hmm. And I think it was actually quite courageous for Mark Pincus, who was the founder of Zynga, to ask this of Obama, because I think you know, it raises an interesting item of debate, right?
It does.
Do you pardon Edward Snowden? I mean, how much is enough? Our company, I mean, what's you can't go in with a SEAL Team 6 and execute this guy. He's in Russia.
That's true.
So they can't get to him. And at what point? I mean, what's that big bombshell of a story that's just going to put all of tech to their knees? And I think, being a former musician, I'm feeling that from Snowden, what we're getting is a crescendo of a composition. And Snowden is slowly building this musical or artistic masterwork where he does have a finale in mind.
So why do you think that Obama responded to Mark saying that he was unable to pardon Edward Snowden?
Right, because I think that's because of the security apparatus. I think the, you know, I think he's afraid of the security apparatus that's been part of this country for more than 60 years. It's a shame,
because I don't think this guy I mean, all he did was just bring. I mean, if anything, he's helping the U.S. citizens, right? I think he's just helping. So,
exactly. Yeah. Helping us know what we've been doing to ourselves all this time.
Exactly.
Well, it's also shedding light into our elected representatives. You know how all of them were on board with this, but they never pass along this information to their constituency. I think it's proving how it's proving how great that divide is between us and our elected representatives. Mm-hmm. And how powerful the security state has become since 2001. You know, but at the same time, you know, I really wish that it wasn't Pincus bringing up this question to Obama. I wish that it was like a Tim Cook, a Google CEO, and it just shows that, you know, how much companies have to lose from all this, both politically and financially and legally.
Yeah, that's something I had never really even thought about, you know, until now.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, because Mark Pincus was the guy. I mean, that to me was the story, is that, you know, he had nothing to lose asking Obama this. Yeah. It was political suicide. He'll probably never be able to finance another company again because he did. But the fact that he did, I thought, was quite courageous.
Yeah, it is. I mean, that's, you know, good for him. I'm glad that he did. And I think more people need to stand up for what they believe in and take risks, you know?
Yeah, it kind of makes you wonder what Steve Jobs would have done.
I wonder.
If Snowden released the information.
If he would have... Yeah, I mean, he was always one to think for himself, and it was never shaped by what other people wanted him to do or say, or, you know, and so he probably would do something similar, I would think.
Right. Well, we know that Apple was one of the last companies to have signed on to the NSA's domestic surveillance program in 2008. Mm-hmm. So he definitely procrastinated till the very end. Or heck, you know, I even I think I blogged about this, but I even mentioned that Steve Jobs died at a weird time when, you know, I think it was very closely after he died that Apple signed on with their surveillance program. Mm-hmm. So he might have been the last one to have said no to the NSA. But now look what's happening. You know, everybody is kind of they've all colluded in this grand scheme, and now they're all getting caught, and kind of reminds me of Enron and all those companies that think they can never get caught for this stuff, and eventually they all get caught. And just because they all hold hands doing it doesn't mean that the fallout should be less severe. I think they should all be persecuted separately in a court of law.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you. Such interesting news, right?
Yeah, I know. But hey, I just saw that. I saw one of your news items is about Netflix. So why don't you tell us about Netflix?
Yeah, so we'll take it down a notch.
Yeah,
to more fluff. Not that Netflix is fluff. I love Netflix. So Netflix is the breakthrough brand of 2013, according to Mashable. And what's interesting was, a few years ago, we all kind of thought that Netflix was on its way out the door, right? I mean, I think their stock had even taken a tumble, if I'm not mistaken, at that time. But it was when they decided to split off their DVD rentals and their online streaming offerings back in July 2011. And they hiked the price by 60%. For for those that were accustomed to getting both, so it'd be like 60% higher. And then 2 months later, Netflix doubled down on unpopular moves with splitting its DVD by mail service into a separate business that was called Quickster. Now, I'm not sure if that's still even, because I never had the DVD. Like, I did the DVDs years ago and then went to streaming way before this July 2011 thing. So I have not tried Quickster. Have you?
No, I haven't.
Yeah. But I almost forgot that even happened. So what's interesting is that, everyone was pretty happy, and their stock lost 2/3 of its value within 3 months. And, the Reed Hastings, their CEO, was declared the worst chief executive of the year by the New York Times and The Street. Now, flash forward, a couple of years, later, right? And it's, unbelievable how huge they are now. So they had an abrupt and shocking turnaround, and it's just kind of fun to watch. And January 23rd, they believe that's when they announced their fourth quarter results from 2012, and they revealed that they had added more than 2 million subscribers from the previous quarter and turned a 7 million profit. And the earnings report caused their stock to jump from 100 to 140 within 24 hours. And so it's, quite a great success story. And so, of course, they also released their original series, Lilyhammer. I didn't see that. House of Cards, back in February 2013 launched. I think that was a huge one, and it won 3 Emmy Awards, which is huge. Orange is the New Black and Arrested Development. So those are some of their content that people are really kind of binge watching. And, now one thing, so Netflix is looking to take on HBO, and they said that they want to target them basically before they have a chance to target Netflix and go the Netflix model. So that's really kind of who they're looking to take on. And then Amazon and Hulu try to take aim at Netflix, but they haven't really had that many results. So, yeah. But it's interesting to watch this, just the way media has changed within the past couple of years. And, when Netflix when they did this, a couple of years ago, I even thought, I was like, oh, that's the end of Netflix. I was on the same bandwagon. I thought, well, forget it. Their online content isn't that great. And, it's, what am I getting here that I can't find anywhere else? And I just was not impressed. And I even canceled my Netflix subscription. You know why I brought it back?
Why?
House of Cards.
Yeah, I did the same thing. I canceled and renewed.
Mm-hmm. Did you renew because of House of Cards?
No, I renewed when I heard that they were doing House of Cards, yes.
Yeah, that's why. And I've been very happy. I was very, very happy with that. And I enjoyed watching Orange is the New Black. And and I think that they have a good formula. Hulu has tried to release their own original content, but they have not been, their content hasn't been as great. And I've even tried to watch some of it, and I just tried is the effective word there. Amazon has launched their own original content, and I do like some of their original content that they have.
Mm-hmm. Well, if you're a Steven Van Zandt fan, whether it be his music or from his work in Sopranos, you would love Lilyhammer, which is a Netflix exclusive, and it's actually quite entertaining.
I'll have to check it out then. I haven't seen it.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, Netflix is doing great. One thing that you have to think about when seeing the 7 million profit is that they really don't disclose how much goes back to all their exclusive content deals. Mm-hmm. So that 7 million quickly probably goes red once they've paid everybody.
Could have, yeah.
So the only thing that really matters are the new subscribers in the end. So how many new content deals can Netflix create for themselves to break out a real profit? And that's one thing I'm really looking for.
I'm wondering how many new subscribers. Now, one thing I noticed that they mentioned in Wall Street that the growth of subscribers and profits combined with the early success of its original content helped Netflix stock more than triple in the year to date, hitting as high as $3.89 a share.
Right.
Yeah, which is pretty amazing.
So just a lot of people are just thrilled that Netflix is doing great. And they're hitting on all cylinders, and that's great. That's definitely something I would like to invest in. The people that were able to invest I guess 2 years ago are pretty happy right now.
Yeah, they're doing well.
Yeah.
They're doing pretty well. But you're right. I don't know how many new subscribers they have. I have not seen
new subscribers numbers. Or how much does it actually cost to pay Kevin Spacey Studio for that deal, or the Arrested Development, because they're actually paying for the content to be created.
Right.
So
it's got to cost a lot for that. I don't know, but I got to think though, if they're getting $7 a month from, how many people, I mean, I can't think of anyone that doesn't have Netflix. I really can't think of someone I know that doesn't have Netflix. Can you?
No, I
maybe
can't.
your mom.
I mean,
but that's
Well, my mom actually has Netflix.
Oh, okay, she has Netflix too. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know of any human and that I come in contact with that doesn't have Netflix. So that's interesting.
Yeah.
So I mean, if they're getting $7 a month from all those people,
right?
I guess they're gonna.
It kind of makes you think, though, when you do the math. How many subscribers do they have? Millions. They're making $7 a piece, but then they're only breaking 7 million in profit. That doesn't sound like a lot. And I did this
a few years ago, though. I don't think that was as of today. I think that was back in when they made.
Gotcha.
That was in 2012, actually. So it was 1 year ago.
Okay, so that's without House of Cards.
Yeah, that was without House of Cards.
Okay, yeah. Because according to Digital Media Academy, it cost about $5 to $10 million just to produce the Game of Thrones pilot.
Wow, how much did you say? Say that again.
$5 to $10 million with a price tag of $50 to $60 million for the entire first season.
Wow. Well, I did see here. Oh no, I'm sorry. That's Hulu. Never mind. It said Hulu. Well,
yeah.
we can figure this out then. Hulu revealed this week that it has 5 million paid subscribers, or about 1/8 the number that Netflix had as of October. So you take 5 times 8. So that's 40 million.
40 million. Yeah. Right. So 7 million just isn't. Maybe that's enough to do one new show a year.
Well, let's just go to the calculator here. It's $7. Is it $7 or $8? Is it $7 or $7.99?
I don't even know. I just
let's do $7.99.
It's smaller than 10. That's all I care about.
We'll round it up to 8. Okay, so 40 million, right? So 40 0 0 0 0 0. Is that right? Did I put the right amount of zeros?
This is when we cue in the Tech Anarchy. We're doing a Google search or working on the calculator song.
wait. Now I'm losing my mind here. 40, 1, 2, 3. 3 zeros would be 40,000. And then 1, 2, 3, right? So yeah, it should be 40 million times. Let's see. 76 is 12 is what they'd be making every year. $76. Hey, don't knock that over. I'm sorry. This bird is if you hear this noise, I have this bird that has been flying over to me while we've been on the show, and he just knocked over a drink. So I'm having a little mess here. So that's $304 million.
$304 million, and yet they're only returning a $7 million profit.
Oh, no. That can't be right.
That just can't be right.
That can't be right. But they should be pulling in $304 million a year based upon $76 per subscriber if there's 40 million subscribers.
Or you mean $7 per subscriber?
$8. I'm sorry. I did 8. I ended up rolling up to 8. So 8 times 12, right? That's
I
76.
still, to summarize, I think it's going to be really hard for Netflix to go directly against HBO when HBO is spending $7,000 per hairpiece for their characters in Game of Thrones.
Huh? So that much for it. I love Game of Thrones, by the way. I cannot wait for that to come back.
Yeah, $7,000 per hairpiece.
Wow.
In Game of Thrones for the character wigs.
And I totally miscalculated this. Hold on. So let me see. 384 million. Yeah, I think that's right.
Oh, so you're wondering if it's million or billion?
This is terrible.
Yeah. Let's just say they make more than 300 million.
Yeah, that's it.
In customer subscriptions, and they're only making 7 million in profit.
That profit this seems kind of odd. But that was prior to Game of Thrones. So I'm sorry, that was prior to House of Cards. So
and that's something that I really want to pay attention to are the numbers that they're actually reporting, because when you look at how much money it goes into these episodes like Game of Thrones or whatever, and you start comparing the two, you would find very quickly that Netflix can't really even afford to produce Game of Thrones.
So this might be, okay, let me reread this sentence. Netflix reported fourth quarter results, this was last January, which revealed that it had added more than 2 million subscribers from the previous quarter and a 7 million profit, both of which beat analyst expectations.
Okay, so that's just the quarter.
So is that a 7 million profit above what that previous quarter did?
It's just for that quarter.
It's just for that quarter.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's where we were. That's where.
And plus, we don't know of those 2 million, how many of them dropped a subscription the previous quarter and renewed. So we don't really have that number. But I guess I was just wanting to say that it's still not enough to produce a Game of Thrones, no matter which way you look at it. HBO is still the king of being able to somehow, they must have great accountants, because they're able to produce Game of Thrones at such a high cost and be able to, I guess, make a profit off of it, right? Or why would they continue to do it? And I think Netflix is going to run into that barrier, and it's only a matter of time. I think ultimately, the studios are playing this, and we'll talk about this later, but I think the studios are playing a dangerous game where they're thinking that they could put in a lot of money, create this great content, but at the expense of all the smaller people that can't really afford to make a movie at the same cost. But the economy is only getting worse. There are people that are not returning to the theaters. There are people that are dropping out of Netflix. At what rate, I don't know. They're dropping out of all of these various content providers like Netflix and Hulu and stuff. And at what point can they not catch up anymore? I mean, how many House of Cards does Netflix need in order to, have steady growth from quarter to quarter?
Right.
And that's something that HBO's been able to do great. Actually, A&E has probably been the king of doing this, and they are probably the only reason why people continue to purchase cable because of A&E programming. But you really need programming all throughout the year and then good subscriber growth. But Netflix is playing an interesting game. They have a new format, so you can't really compare House of Cards with The Walking Dead because, they just release all their episodes at one time. And I think that's a financial thing. I think there's a reason why they're doing it that way. So you can't show that, so there's no way of really comparing the two.
That's true. It's a good point. There's one thing to note, though, that will be interesting is, how right now it says they broadcast in over 41 countries. Well, one of the recent things that, or rumors, was that they'll start eventually broadcasting in Australia. So they're not even in Australia yet. And it's got to be because of licensing agreements, of course. Yeah. But when they do that, think of all the extra subscribers they'll get from there, too. So I guess every time they add a country, it really...
Exactly. Yeah. And they're able to just offer the same content that they've been offering us to other markets and getting more customers that way. Yeah, I mean, Netflix is all about getting customers. I just don't know how many new customers they can get in the United States. I mean, they would really need to be providing a lot more content, at least in my mind, to have like any type of sustainable growth. I just don't see them doing it because in the end, it's going to boil down to Hollywood, A&E, and HBO. I mean, they have the money to be able to afford these new shows.
I'm reading their shareholder statement from October 21st, and it's interesting. It actually breaks down the net additions versus total members and paid members.
Oh, great.
Yeah. And so net additions for Q4, and granted, Q4 is not even over yet, right? We're still in the middle of Q. Oh, that's the guidance midpoint. I'm sorry. Let's look at Q3. Okay. We'll look at Q3. My bad. So net additions for Q3 were 1.29 million in the U.S. and outside of the U.S. 1.44 million. So now, as far as total members in the states, 31.09 million, about 31 million, and then outside of the states, we're looking at 9 million. Actually, it rolls it up a little bit more. Okay. And then they showed like the paid memberships. So the majority of the memberships are paid. I don't understand how you can really have, I guess, a membership that wouldn't be paid is someone who disconnected their account, I guess, and they're still a member.
Or a free membership.
Oh, yeah.
Or like a free trial, perhaps.
Perhaps a free trial. Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. I'm still wondering of how many members that have dropped off, how many have resubscribed. Do they have like subscription numbers in there? Or?
No, they don't.
Okay. Do they have like a loss number, like how many they lose each quarter? Or maybe not.
Let's see. Net additions, total members, paid members, revenue. I don't see any churn numbers at all.
Okay.
No, I don't see any churn.
Well, it's fascinating. I think it would be Netflix's downfall, quite honestly, if they decide to go after HBO and compete or try to compete with another Game of Thrones.
The one thing about I don't get cable, so I can't watch HBO or HBO Go, and it pisses me off as a viewer of TV. I get mad when there's shows that are on HBO and I can't watch it. So Game of Thrones, I torrented that whole thing. I mean,
well, as a teaser, you'll be most interested in what I have as a prediction for 2014.
Oh, okay. Looking forward to it. So what else do you have in your news?
Yeah, so this I have not heard anywhere. And speaking of being pissed off, I'm pretty pissed off at this. The very fact. I mean, I watched Meet the Press all the way through, and we're recording on Sunday, by the way, for all you new people. Meet the Press did not cover this news segment, but Snowden came out with his weekly address, whatever you want to call it, and he divulged the fact that the NSA has been paid. This is, quote, allegedly, I guess in order to cover it, you have to say allegedly, paid the RSA $10 million to implement flawed cryptography standard. So just so you know, RSA, they were purchased by EMC in 2006, based in Bedford, Massachusetts, but they are the creators of all these cryptography standards that, provide like a little lock mechanism on your browser. And they've also created several two-factor authentication products. Who uses them, I don't know. I tried to do some research in that area, but if our listening audience knows who uses the RSA two-factor authentication, I'd be very interested to know that. But they are allegedly they've been getting money from the NSA to develop flawed standards.
So flawed, you mean by flawed? You mean flawed like as in like some back doors or something where it's not working properly in order that...
Right. So basically they gave the NSA a backdoor to create the default random number generator for most of their algorithms.
Wow. Yes.
So that means hackers could try to find a compromise and hack it, but the NSA didn't really even have to do that. They just paid for a backdoor, and I had a feeling that this has kind of been true for like the Googles and the Yahoos and the Apples out there that. We think that the NSA, they're breaking into our systems, but we never really thought that they were paying these companies money to actually create flawed systems in which they could easily penetrate.
Exactly.
Which is what's being reported here, that, the RSA they got money from the NSA to develop this flawed system.
Wow.
And, I mean, it's getting to where everyone linked to the NSA is culpable in this. The RSA, for its security standards, I mean, they just basically rigged the system, right? Mm-hmm. Google, Yahoo, and Apple, I mean, for the backdoor access I just talked about. And then the telcos for the blanket surveillance in the first place that allows, the NSA to sift through all of our records. And, it's just, I don't know who is not in bed with the NSA.
I don't know. Everyone is.
It's like one big party and I wasn't invited.
I know, right? all of us were left out. It's just all.
Yeah. What I think is
that's
the
really
best
shady,
thing.
though.
It is super shady. I mean, that's an understatement. But the best thing I like to do in lieu of all these Snowden events is kind of look backwards through time and see what some of these CEOs are actually saying about their brilliant security systems. Mm-hmm. And I got a great quote from Amit Yoran, who is the COO of he's the COO of, I believe, the RSA or something like that. Anyways, Amit Yoran, and he is quoted to having said, "Security and privacy can be successfully aligned within a framework of transparency and good governance. An intelligence-driven security model built on tools and capabilities that provide context through analytics can help organizations protect individual privacy, customer data, and intellectual property." I thought that was a telling quote because, I mean, if you were to translate that, you can say that he was telling his vendors that security and privacy can be aligned within the framework of the NSA and still be highly profitable. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Which is horrible, but that's, in a sense, is what he's saying. Now, I mean, thanks to Snowden, that's what we can decipher from that statement. Is that these companies are probably trying to figure out how to remain profitable, while having the NSA always watch what they're doing. Mm-hmm. And now that we know what they've always known, which was the big secret, it'll just be interesting how bad these stories get. I mean,
how much more is going to come with this?
I said in one of our previous episodes that I was never a fan of 2-factor, 3-factor, 4-factor.
Yeah, you did.
Just pretend how many factors you're going to come up with when the people that are creating the 1-factor security mechanism have exploited your system. It doesn't matter how many layers you put on top of it when the foundation is broken.
That's true.
So, hey, yeah, I can prevent script kiddies from getting my data, but in the end, that's not the kind of protection I'm really looking for.
No, I know we want complete all protection and privacy.
Yeah.
And it's not out there.
No, it's not. I mean, yeah, that's the, I mean, talking about prediction of 2014, it just trust has been broken, and how companies are going to be able to get out of this spiral is going to be interesting. So, yeah. Speaking of using technology to survey unwilling participants, what about GPS? What do you have as one of your news articles?
So, I knew you were going the heavy route, so I thought I'd go the light and fun route. So this I found was humorous. This is according to CNET. I'm sorry. Churches resort to using GPS in case baby Jesus is stolen.
So
how many people steal the baby Jesus from the nativity scenes? Do people really do that?
Yeah, apparently. Why? So, I mean, I don't know why. Maybe they want the baby Jesus for themselves.
So a security company is giving out free GPS devices so that no one steals the figurines from nativity scenes in places of worship. I just find it funny.
That's amazing. So what exactly? How do they get the legal system? Like, how do they get the authorities involved if a baby Jesus is stolen? Because they're basically planting this is basically wireless surveillance. I'm surprised that the criminals don't throw this right back at the church and say that none of this can be prosecuted against them, none of this info.
Yeah.
Because they have to be, maybe on premises they have to say that these premises are always being monitored by electronic surveillance.
It doesn't say what they do once it's stolen. The story doesn't even talk about involving the cops. I'll read a little bit about it. First they put the trackers, they insert them into the figurines, and so I guess that's how they go unnoticed. And it says it's unclear, what happens after that. It says it would, though, be quite a scene for someone to get a knock on their door and witness a man uttering the words, a man like in a priest outfit. They call it a cassock, I think. I've come to take Jesus back, or you're under celestial
arrest. Yeah, and for all you atheists that are stealing the baby Jesus, just one thing you can do if the church wants their Jesus back, you can just tell them as a retort, prove it. and they won't be able to use any of the information, GPS device or whatever, against you.
That's true.
So I'd love to see that confrontation recorded with your Google Glass, unfortunately.
Oh, I'd love to watch something like this unfold. It's very, very funny. They focused on figurines that were, according to the story, on figurines that were being stolen in New Jersey. But NBC News discovered that this might actually be a nationwide phenomenon because churches in Illinois are also receiving GPS trackers. And then it says, two of the wise men disappeared and ended up at Four Lakes Ski Resort, explained Reverend George Smith of St. Mark's Episcopal Church in Glen Ellen, Illinois. It may be very well that the wise men had never seen snow, but one suspects that someone would be encouraged to go up on the trip. So anyway, I don't know how they're getting these items back, but I just kind of find it comical that in a warped way. I find it comical.
Yeah. Of course, you would find it comical.
It's funny. It's
it is.
Stealing these little things from the wise men. And
I always thought that the church welcomes people to steal from the nativity scene. I mean, hopefully it goes to a better home, and maybe people want to worship in their own way. And
I guess it's just so tempting because these characters are just so
out there.
Yeah, I mean, it's like almost like a gnome in your yard or something. I mean, you look
I
at
don't
these.
hear of a nation search of people stealing gnomes.
No, I don't.
I mean,
but it's they're funny looking, right? And I guess for people that aren't religious, I'm not religious, so it's humorous.
I like the fact that it ends up at a ski resort. So that right away tells me that the ski resort is in the business of stealing nativity scenes.
I'm thinking it must be some guys, maybe some guys, some kids, I don't know, kids being like, early 20s or whatever, that like, oh yeah, let's do this, and they think it's funny, I dare you to do that. All right. And they do it.
Exactly.
And, it's just a prank, but it's very, very funny. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, well, good. I'm glad.
Great use of GPS.
Great use of GPS to locate the baby Jesus, and And then I have one more other news item that's kind of lighthearted.
Okay, what you got?
So the French language is constantly being, reviewed, by English tech phrases. So it's basically, since in English, we have a lot of new tech terms, and for translating those and making those same terms into French, that's something that they have to do. So so the one thing that the French, however, they take their culture quite seriously, and they
obviously,
and they don't want to have certain words in their French dictionary. So they are disproving and turning. They're not going to allow the word, evidently, sexting in their.
What would that be in French?
I don't even know.
Bleu?
I have no idea. But they decreed that the French term for its practice is textopornographie.
Okay.
And so they've definitely turned a negative eye at this term, and I don't believe they're going to allow it in their dictionary because it's they just have something against the word sexting, basically.
I think they just consider it a lower form of pornography. So why even include it? It's text. That's not real. Yeah. Those Americans are so bored with each other. Those
lowbrowed Americans. Are just,
they're like, we're better than that.
Yeah. I just found it funny. It's quite interesting. It's and even the fact that it's a term in the States too, is kind of weird. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I was thinking. Is what does that say about us?
Yeah. Where we have that as a term, and other nations aren't quick to adopt those terms.
Yeah.
Are we adopting terms at a faster rate, you think, than everybody else?
I think. Well, what about the selfie? Well, first of all, I don't.
Where'd that come from?
I don't even understand. What's the big? People. We've been taking pictures of ourselves since the MySpace days.
Yeah.
I mean, that's I think when it started. I think it was like MySpace is like really camera phones. I'm sorry, I take that back.
We've been taking pictures of ourselves ever since there have been Christmas cards.
Yeah, ever since
where we take pictures of ourselves in front of Santa.
Yeah. So but then holding a camera and taking a photo of yourself itself, that didn't make any sense. Holding a camera,
I do that all the time, and I never really called it a selfie.
I never called it a selfie.
Yeah.
And now we have this term selfie, and it's a big. Why is it? Who made it a big thing? Who made it a thing?
it's marketing. I don't know where it came from. I'm very interested to know that. I mean, it probably came from some social media company, and quickly adopted by the media. I mean, I wouldn't put it past the media to invent the term and to use it themselves.
But and the thing of it is, it's not even new. I mean, it's not new at all. I mean, this is
Yeah, I mean that one time where I believe Barack Obama took a selfie during the Nelson Mandela funeral, which is kind of weird. That's when you knew that the term had reached mainstream, where Obama was taking the selfie.
That's exactly it.
Let's get into our top tech predictions, and I wish we had like a David Letterman kind of soundbite for this. That would be really cool.
That'd be fun.
Maybe that's something I can work on for the holidays. All right.
So should I go first, or?
Yeah, Jennifer, why don't you start off with one item and then we'll kind of switch. I mean, you have more items than I do, but mine are kind of in depth. So
okay. Let me go with using the use of biometrics for passwords.
Ooh.
Now I hope this is. I think it will come out in 2014, but I don't think it will be widely spread in 2014, but I think we'll start to see something like that. So why not use our fingerprint? You know, we're kind of using it right now on our iOS devices, and I think I had the option to do that on my my HTC. I have it on my HTC device. That's right. And to use my fingerprint to unlock the screen, or to make a purchase in the iTunes store. And I'd like to see more of that for other uses, and I think that we'll start to see more biometrics to be used in terms of password usage, going forward in 2014. We'll see something more with that. I don't know exactly what it is, but I really kind of believe that is the direction that it'd be a more secure direction to go in my opinion, because I guess cloning a fingerprint is more challenging than decrypting a password.
Yeah, or just being an employee for Target that decides that he's had enough and you've rigged all your card readers. And it'd be great for maybe a two-factor form of authentication for these point-of-sale systems to actually sync with your phone or some other type of device to be able to prove who you are.
I like that.
Yeah.
That's great.
So you you have biometrics for passwords for your 2014 list. It's very hard for me to see this becoming true unless we don't see progress on the Android storefront to lock down their software first. And I've discussed this in previous episodes, but do you think that's going to be likely?
I think that we'll see in future versions of Android, I think we'll see something with the fingerprints. I definitely do. It just, whether it's a widespread adoption, that will be probably not the case for a few more years, because, just because they roll out a new OS doesn't mean everyone's device is compatible with it.
Right. Well, it's a fascinating prediction because I know for a fact that Sony has a patent for fingerprint authentication via their controller for PS4s.
Cool.
So that's something that we will be seeing in 2014. We'll be seeing a way to sign into the PSN store, which is their fingerprint.
Oh, that's so great. It's so much easier.
Yeah, I do agree. It's so much easier. And it's safer, right? Because little Johnny can't make purchases on behalf of his father without his father's fingerprint being present. Mm-hmm. So, and maybe you can even break in like some parental controls based on fingerprint ID, which would be pretty cool too.
Or maybe just have, that would be really cool based upon the different fingerprints. If you record your children's fingerprints and tell them they're under 18, no downloading these games. So what do you have on your list?
Well, so I'm going to start off with a bold prediction for 2014. Mm-hmm. I am going to put myself on a limb by saying that AT&T will exclusively partner with Apple in the release of their Apple TV product.
Oh, so you mean Apple TV is a TV set, a TV box?
That's correct.
Gotcha.
Well, I think the Apple TV is going to have to go away if they're going to have Apple TV. That's a given. You know, marketing wise, how are they going to market the two? They might make like a Apple TV Lite, which is the version of Apple TV, or what they call it, Apple TV. What is it? Air, you know, which is a lighter version.
Yeah.
And then an Apple TV Pro, which could be the actual set-top box.
Yeah, they could do something like that.
Right,
Interesting to see how they'll name it.
Yeah, but I think they're going to announce an exclusive deal with AT&T. Why do I think that? Because I think A, they've done it before with the iPhone, and B, I really think that Apple is not going to get around all these licenses in place for content providers. Mm-hmm. Or that content providers have already signed, like the Viacoms and the Vivindis and, you know, NBCs out there. I think it's going to be very hard to get around those content deals. But if Apple were to align themselves with AT&T, maybe their Uverse package, then maybe they could give AT&T a piece of the pie, alongside offering something that we've never seen before, which I think is the biggest part of this prediction, is a la carte programming.
I would love that. Well, first I'm curious, why AT&T do you think? Do you think they need some type of connectivity provider, or why would AT&T
Well, yeah, because
partner?
The providers have already signed, they've already inked the deals with the content. Providers.
So as a content provider, you know, because AT&T has Uverse, is that why?
That's correct, yeah.
Gotcha, okay.
And that's something that cable already has, but when you think of AT&T is actually up against Comcast, because they, you know, through their cable license agreements with all their content providers, they already have the deals in place. So, and AT&T probably has the same kind of deal with their Uverse package. So everybody's trying to be more like the cable industry, mm-hmm. right? But then at the same time, you have people that are subscribing to cable that don't even care about what cable has to offer. They're more interested in just the bandwidth.
That's right.
Because in the end,
that's me. Yeah.
Not even cable provides a la carte programming. Mm-hmm. I want to be able to get HBO and A&E, and that's it. I mean, it's.
I would do it then. I'd buy it. I totally would buy that if that were the case. I'd go. I'd get the HBO. I'd get my locals. That's it. I mean,
I think the average, and I'll put this in the show notes, but the average of television stations that are actually subscribed to are like 20, but even that was a high number. They think that people normally just stay around 10 programs. Mm-hmm. And so when you think of a la carte, obviously you're going to be making less money, right? Because you're not able to provide these package deals anymore. You're just providing people what they want, but what they want is really less than what you're providing. Mm-hmm. And I mean, so that's kind of the downfall, and some people are saying that a la carte will never. Oh, yeah. So we have Fox COOs, Chase Carey, as saying that a la carte programming is a fantasy that'll never happen. But a lot of people said the same about the iPhone before it was introduced.
Yeah.
Actually, Nokia, and I believe everyone that's now out of business were saying the same thing about the iPhone. And I think that Apple and AT&T could change the industry once again with an a la carte programming and cut out. I mean, really, really change the industry.
That would be. I mean, that would totally be a game changer. That's the thing that we've been asking for, right?
Yeah.
And if they were to do something like that and launch, see, that would set themselves apart from what others have. Because what does everyone else have? They have boxes that stream media, right? That's pretty much, everyone seems to have some type of solution or service that streams media. But if they could do something like this, offering the a la carte, then that'd be a great solution.
Yeah, in the last chapter of the Jobs book, he did say Steve Jobs was, said that in his, and this is autobiography, that he said they finally cracked the code to TV. And I think this is exactly what he was talking about. I think Steve Jobs finally figured out a way to make a la carte profitable for everybody. And that was the problem with iTunes before iTunes became iTunes, is how would the music industry get their cut?
Yeah, that was the issue. You're right.
And what happened was essentially the same thing. The music industry was used to providing this culmination of music tracks into one CD and selling that. But people went to iTunes and they had an a la carte experience. They could only or they had the option of now buying one track.
Right.
But in the end, I think people were buying the entire CDs. And they weren't just buying the one tracks like everybody was fearing. And I think in the end, Apple actually made it more profitable for artist labels to be able to sell exclusive content if you purchase the entire, I don't want to say disc, but 12 or 14 tracks in the album or the entire album. And I think we could see the same with an Apple and AT&T agreement. And I'll get into this later on with another one of my predictions, but I think there are technologies that will be more possible next year that will allow for there to be added content for a la carte programming. So if I'm watching a show, like, for example, if I'm watching A&E's Walking Dead, they actually have an app that they offer for your iPad, iPhone, Android device where you're able to sync up the app to the actual show. And so as the show's going, you're able to get additional information about that show. Yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah, it's called like a second screen experience or something like that. The Sony has that kind of mechanism built into its PS4. So if you can sync up your Vita to your PS4 and you can have a secondary screen as well. And then Nintendo obviously is doing that with the Wii U. I see the technologies being around next year to be able to offer special content along with the content, specialized content along with the average or more traditional programming. So that's my.
I love that prediction. I love that prediction. I hope that you are dead on with that. I really do. That's really a great one.
Yeah.
Oh, very nice. Very nice.
So what do you have? What else?
I am going to, I have one that's a given, wearables, the hype of wearables, meaning wearable computing such as Google Glass, an Apple iWatch, if that were to come out, just some type of device that we wear on our head, whether it may be even another form of glasses. I know there's some other people that are talking about different glasses that do something similar to what Google does. I think that's going to be the fad. You already have the craze with GoPro right now, and but to have something more wearable it will also deliver some quantified self data for you.
Definitely.
In a better fashion than what we have today.
So here's my thing. So I don't foresee Apple releasing their new TV product alongside an iWatch. I don't see them releasing the two on the same year. So I either see Apple's TV next year or the iWatch.
Yeah, you're probably right.
And it's already rumored that the iWatch is not coming out till fall of 2014.
Which that would make sense because of the holiday season, for people to buy it and get ready for the holidays.
But I think they're going to do what they did with the Mac Pro this year. I think they're going to say that it's coming and prepare us and get the rumor mills going. Well, at that point, there won't be any more rumors, but get everybody prepared and get the pre-orders fulfilled and all that. And I don't think we'll see an iWatch till 2015.
No, Maybe, well, I hope that's not. I don't know. I would love to see both the Apple TV and the iWatch in 2014.
Yeah,
But
I would love that too, but I think those days are over with Jobs passing, unfortunately.
Gosh.
I think, the company is playing it safe and they're trying to offer, value to their stock shareholders, and which means basically that innovation comes at a cost, right? And you're going to cannibalize something. But when you're creating these new markets, you never know what's going to happen. And we're seeing iPad kind of cannibalizing into their laptop sales, and laptop sales are definitely cannibalizing their Mac Pro sales, or desktop sales in general. So, it's always up for it's anybody's guess, right? What's going to happen when they release these game changers. So I'm hoping to see wearables, and actually, I think we've seen amazing innovation from just third parties in the wearable space. But at the same time, I think Apple just may play it safe and not release iWatch till 2015.
Well, we'll see. But I think that 3D printers will be more mainstream in 2014.
I'm glad you got that on your list, because I totally forgot it. I totally agree.
I believe we'll see some printer manufacturers that will be able to provide them at an okay price. Maybe not the most affordable for every household, but something that some households can afford, and that it will actually get into consumers' hands.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's the 3D printer that I was looking at for a while that printed out figurines. I was thinking of the RPG space and how they how modelers have the figurines, to depict the characters and the role-playing games that revolve around that. But there are 3D printers that print great figurines, and they're actually cheap. They're like around $350.
Oh, that is cheap.
Yeah, so when you think about the resources that go into it, obviously, that's some money because you have to buy the plastic or whatever. But still, just at that level, being able to create your own toys is really cool.
That would be very cool. I've been seeing some people do some, androids, for example, like little android figurines and things like that. But I would love to make something. I think with you being an artist, you could have a heyday with that.
Oh, yeah, no, I wish I were 10 years younger. I mean, it would... A three-dimensional art would be a great field to experiment with. I'm really jealous. Because, that's coming. I mean, to paint the artwork, that's one thing. You still need to paint it. These 3D printers, they pretty much print out just a solid color. But, I was introduced in the world of 3D, and I later went into digital 3D and thought that that's what I would do in college when I created fine-scale models using plastic. And I did modeling in 1/48 scale, primarily plastic planes. But it's interesting to see how we go full circle, right? Because now I see models being more cool. I mean, I see modeling being cool again because now modelers will be able to print their own sets, whereas before they kind of had to go to manufacturers that built the kits.
Right.
But now you'll be able to build your own kits, which is really cool.
That is very cool.
Yeah. I mean, I love to see old things become new again. And that's in some cases, it's only about, it's a matter of convenience. And 3D printing of just hobbies, like jewelry is another example of something that could benefit from 3D printing. Being able to make your own 3D printed jewelry.
That's cool. That's a good idea.
So that's a great item.
Oh, thanks. Should I go over one more that I have?
Yeah, sure.
All right.
Sure. Just more.
So this is I'm just kind of throwing that out there. And I don't have any reason necessarily other than a gut feeling, which could be completely wrong. But I think that the whole Bitcoin thing, it will go on the decline. I think that it's a fad and that it will dramatically decrease in value. unlike what others are saying, completely opposite of what other people are saying. But I just don't feel confident about it. I don't feel that it's... First of all, I don't even know who started it, right? There's rumors about who started it. And I don't understand why it's even as big as it is. And it just, I don't know. It's just not a tangible item for me that I can wrap my head around. I think that the majority of the population probably feels similarly, except for, some real geeks out there that might really get it and be into it and maybe own some. I think the people that own it are all about it, of course, but
yeah, exactly.
The people that don't, I mean, to me, I'm looking at it, I'm like, come on, really? I don't know. What do you think?
Well, okay, so I've never really got into Bitcoins. I've never purchased any. But when they say that Bitcoins is big, I mean, I'm kind of wondering how big. Like, I'm thinking that the only people that know Bitcoin are the people that trade it currently.
Yeah.
But what exactly is the marketing initiative for Bitcoin? And I guess, is this competing directly with the dollar?
It's competing with the dollar, and it's, let's see what it's worth.
So
right
it is
now.
a de facto currency then?
Yeah, right now, one Bitcoin is equal to $634.5 US dollars currently today.
$634.
Yeah, is one Bitcoin.
But it's only good online, right?
It's only good online. So the value of it is if you want to go anonymous, and like that, what was that crypto virus that's out there, the one that encrypts everything on your desktop or your computer, and you can't, your Mac, whatever computer, Mac versus, I think it works on a Mac too, or is it just Windows? I don't know. But
right.
So they're holding people hostage, and they will accept, I believe they're accepting in Bitcoin, I think, for payment.
Oh, gotcha. Well, you know what? I mean, so you're talking about Bitcoin ransom. I think it's CryptoLocker is the malware.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking about, yeah.
But then at the same time, I think from the news that we've just covered, even Bitcoin is exposed by the NSA. And I don't think anybody is anonymous. I think maybe tracking it could be harder, but I wouldn't put past the NSA to actually be tracking all this stuff.
I don't even understand why this currency even exists. What's the
I guess that's what I'm getting at. I don't really, I mean, mainstream America doesn't use this as a currency, so in my mind, it's not really a real currency.
I think that the hype, it just, while we're sitting here, it just dropped down to $633.90. But, which is an interesting fluctuation. Now it's $634.10. So what makes it fluctuate like that? What the heck? Who's even determining this? What is this?
Well, apparently it fluctuates with speculation, but I'm reading an article from Policy Mike, and they're saying they have here an example. So a worker in Spain can go to a local broker, exchange euros for Bitcoin, send the Bitcoin to relatives in Colombia, and have those relatives exchange the Bitcoin back into the Colombian pesos. So it just seems like, as everybody around the world kind of flocks to the dollar, but now that's probably not as much the case with federal easing their policies or going back to other measures. It sounds like just another way to divest.
Yeah. Good. Well said.
Because a lot of people are kind of stuck with money, currency that really isn't worth much, so they're probably going to go to something that's worth a little more. Mm-hmm. So Bitcoin sounds like to me to be a great financial instrument to convert your current currency to something else.
Yeah.
I mean, even China has problems with Bitcoin, apparently. They're trying to crack down on deposits just like the United States. I mean, really, when you attack the dollar, you're attacking our entire financial system, right? Mm-hmm. So I kind of like that aspect to it, but then at the same time, I'm not involved in it's only digital. So that right away, all of our listening audience knows by now that I'm not into just a pure digital version of something. I mean, then you can copy it as much as you want to. I mean, what's even the safeguard to a Bitcoin? I mean, there's no like forms of anti-piracy measures. I mean, what exactly do they use? Like, if you've looked at the new $100 bills, they do a lot of things technologically advanced to prevent you from being able to counterfeit the $100 bill. What exactly are they doing with Bitcoin? How
exactly.
Can you counterfeit Bitcoin?
No, I don't think so. I don't know. Who knows? I don't know.
Okay, I'm looking that up. If you can counterfeit,
I don't know how you'd be able to.
2 suspected Bitcoin counterfeiters are arrested in Germany.
Huh.
Well, if it's digital, you can duplicate it. German police have arrested 2 people suspected of illegally generating Bitcoins worth nearly 100 million. Bitcoins are unregulated virtual currency that is stored in password-protected electronic wallets and used to make purchases on the internet and at, say, some brick-and-mortar businesses. But then they say prosecutors in Germany are investigating whether people use software to create digital Bitcoins worth 700,000 euros. Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's where, when you go away from the world of physical, things get murky because, you can duplicate anything digital.
You can.
You just can. So.
Yeah, I agree.
So my last prediction for 2014 is probably going to be one that fuels Apple TV and other technologies that are going to be required to run it, and that's the rise of 4K. And I think there are several technologies that are going to come from 4K that make things like Apple TV and maybe some set-top boxes that LG and Samsung are working on possible. And those new technologies, I basically put those into 3 buckets, being compression, displays, and change of content, change of how we perceive content, at least. And so in the compression category, I think what 4K brings to the table is the new H.265 compression algorithm, and basically what that gives to normal Americans is if you're in an area with little bandwidth, I think you would still need to have some sort of broadband capability. But what H.265 allows is for 1080 or 1080i or maybe just 1080p, not really sure, but 1080 content, HD, which is HD, to be delivered to your house at a fraction of the bandwidth cost. But if you're in large metropolitan areas like Dallas, Fort Worth, or New York City, or San Francisco, you will be able to get the full the other great benefit of H.265. You'll be able to get 4K content streamed to a device that's capable of supporting that. So H.265 is, I think, a great advancement in something that is required to make 4K work. But I think it's something that we're going to be hearing more of in 2014. And I believe I did some background research. China kind of has their own compression algorithm, and that's like an AV2 or AVC2, and that's kind of to go head to head with the existing H.264 compression algorithm.
Okay.
But so I don't really see China getting into H.265 just because they've developed their own compression algorithms before. But, at the same time, we're hearing all this gossip about Apple and China Mobile. And China Mobile also provides content. I mean, they're going to get into 4K as well. And they're actually making partnerships with people like Apple Jennifer, you brought that up in the last news segment, last podcast.
Yep.
Right. Well, I did some digging and I found out that China Mobile also has some agreements with AT&T.
Ah, interesting.
So we might, see some 4K content coming to China. What content that is? I mean, we know for a fact that Netflix is going to be releasing the second season of House of Cards in 4K. Who'll be able to get that 4K content? That's up for debate. And that's another reason why I think Apple TV is coming out next year as opposed to 2015 is because Netflix is releasing 4K content. So what better way to advertise Apple TV than having a big picture of 4K Netflix on it? So.
Are Apple's displays are any of them 4K displays? Because
they're Retina.
Okay,
Retina is not quite 4K. Right. That's correct. So I'm thinking that Apple will have to come out with Super Retina, but they've been sitting on 4K technology for a while. It's kind of rumored that there could be some Sharp displays that have 4K capabilities.
I was just wondering because with the Mac Pro launch,
exactly.
Yeah, so...
The new Mac Pro, and I just texted my friend yesterday at the specs, the new Mac Pro can do H.265 editing on the fly. Wow. You can actually do real-time 4K editing, which is amazing.
That is amazing.
I always knew when they said that they had three ports for 4K monitors that, right away told me that this is definitely the machine to be editing 4K content with. Mm-hmm. But I think, Apple had to first release the tool to create 4K content before they actually released the TV to be able to watch that 4K content with. And I think, again, that's why we're going to see Apple TV content next year, or Apple TV next year, as opposed to 2015, because now people are going to have the tools to be able to create great content. So, so compression is a big part of 4K and what 4K has to offer. Also, displays. You got into that a little bit. Displays is going to be another benefit of 4K because obviously you need a display to be able to display the 4K content. LG and Samsung are being said to they're creating like these super AMOLED displays, which I believe can play 4K content. But so they got that, and then Apple's rumored to working on their Super Retina as well. So that's another cool,
exciting stuff. Yeah. I wonder if we're really going to be when we're, if we were to purchase one of these displays or a TV in the future with 4K, if we're going to look at our HD TV and go like, ugh. That sucks. What is this?
Yeah, most definitely.
Yeah, kind of like with the way we look at our the old analog TVs, right? The same thing.
Yeah. Well, no, I totally agree. And just watching The Hobbit recently, if that's any example of what the future has in store for me, I'm all on board. I mean, just seeing the film. In 48 frames a second and in IMAX was just an amazing adventure. So to see 4K content, it'll be interesting to see how content creators take advantage of 4K content. And that's actually my third bucket for what 4K is going to bring to everybody. It's also going to bring a change of content, right? Because now everybody can see a better resolution. We automatically think better videos. And Jennifer, you're right. What's this video going to look like compared to HD? Well, it's going to look better. I mean, that's a given, right? Mm-hmm. But at the same time, static content looks great on 4K displays. Your photography looks phenomenal. Here's a tip. Bring a USB drive filled with some of your DSLR content and go to a Best Buy and plug in your USB drive to their demo station.
That's a good idea, yeah.
And see how good your photography looks. It's just, you've never seen, I mean, it's night and day. I mean, you're like, holy crap, I took that picture. It's amazing. But not only does 4K offer breakthroughs in display for like photography, but you can also read text as well. So now the option of being able to read and watch at the same time becomes possible. And that's where I'm thinking Apple, along with AT&T or whoever, can offer some amazing like plus content that goes along with your program. They could offer, you could be reading the script at the same time as watching the movie. You could be looking at the artwork for the film that was used to create the film. While the director is doing his director commentary, at the same time you're watching the movie. So yeah, support material is going to be enhanced with the digital programming provided. And this might be a con for 4K, but I'm hoping that it's a pro if done effectively. But I also imagine you seeing enhanced ads with 4K content. And maybe the ads are based on your wearable technology preferences, right? So you see delivered ads based on who you are and what you like to see. I mean, that's better than me just watching Alexa's commercial every 15 minutes, you know?
Yeah.
If I can actually see something that I want to watch.
Yeah.
And we already know that Apple has its iAds platform and Google has its own advertising platform. So they will definitely leverage this into TVs any way possible.
So.
But if they're more fine-tuned to my preferences, then I'd be more susceptible, I guess, to advertising. But
I'm the same way.
So
yeah,
I think
I agree with that. You know, I'd rather have advertising catered to things that I enjoy rather than something that it thinks that I should because I'm a female in this age group. You know, I want them to. I kind of like them knowing what I'm into, and you know.
Someone brought up on our Google Plus page when I was excited about advertising on the watch. They brought up, well, they thought that the whole point of being able to opt out of your ads was being able to opt out of all of your advertising. And then in the very next comment, I plug our show. It's ha ha ha, LOL. So you know, I think everybody. I mean, advertising is just the nature of the business. But if it's more targeted to who I am and what I'm willing to accept, then you know, then that's a win-win for everybody. You know. So yeah, so those are the three buckets that I think you can be that you'll be able to expect next year, just from the rise of 4K.
I agree with you. I agree with you with everything that you said, and
cool.
And hope that is definitely the case. So
cool. Well, do you have any more for 2014, or is that it?
That is it.
That's it.
Yeah.
So that's all we have for 2014. Actually, I thought that was pretty jam-packed, and I might be eating crow.
I might be too, but that's all right, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that pretty much wraps up, or this episode pretty much wraps up 2013. It's been, I just wanted to take this time to thank you, Jennifer, for recording the show with me. It's been a great quarter. I think we've been doing this for a few months, maybe two right now.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me. I really enjoy doing the show. Tech Anarchy is a ton of fun, great conversation, and you're always making me think outside the box.
Well, you're always creating smiles, being an optimist, and I thought, you know, maybe this would be the forum for me to be optimistic about stuff, and we actually started that way, and then as news came down the pipe, it just got worse. Well,
yeah, the news that's out there is depressing. I mean, it's important. It's important, though, you know. Yeah. Important and eye-opening and needs to be talked about.
So we hope that our listening audience have had a good balance of news and content, and I wanted to thank our our listeners too, because we know you're out there. You might not be talking or adding to the conversation. We would love for that to happen, and we only have great plans in store for next year. I know we've been talking about video versions of the podcast and trying to fit that in. Jennifer and I are both busy individuals, so fitting stuff in is probably the key to doing anything with Tech Anarchy. But yeah, so when people get this, they would have opened up their Christmas presents and digging into all that new tech that hopefully we've covered.
That's right. Yeah. Merry Christmas and Happy Hanukkah, everyone, and Happy Kwanzaa.
Definitely.
And, whatever you celebrate, just, hopefully you had a great time and unwrapped some awesome new tech.
Definitely. Drink some eggnog and enjoy your consoles.
Yeah. I hope that you're getting your PS4.
I hope so.
I want you to hang out, message me or something and let me know.
Oh, definitely. I'll try doing it on the PS4.
Cool. That'd be awesome.
Yeah. But, thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful year. And it's been a blast. So I appreciate everyone that's following us on Google Plus and Twitter. And if you haven't yet, please do. You can reach us at google.com/Tech Anarchy or /plus Tech Anarchy Social. You can also reach us at Facebook at facebook.com/Tech Anarchy Podcast. Mm-hmm. And then you can also reach us on Twitter, Tech_Anarchy. And as always, we are more than welcome to conversing with you. And we really do care about what you have to say about stuff.
Yes.
I had an interesting blog post, actually, and we are also on the web, techanarchy.com. Mm-hmm. This guy responded to my Microsoft Xbox One rant, and I posted all the marketing materials that Microsoft has been using in their campaign, in which he responds, "Oh, well, you just raised the case for Xbox One." And I responded back, "Well, yeah, if you like Xbox for other reasons than gaming." So it's fun. Everything's lighthearted, and
Yeah, that is fun.
I am.
And we'll be talking with everyone, I guess, next time you'll hear us, it'll be
next
2014.
Year. That's right.
So Happy New Year.
A Happy New Year to you, Jennifer. Mm-hmm. And I am looking forward to 2014 with a smile.
I am too.
Great. Well, thank you for joining us. And as always, we record on Sundays and release on Thursday mornings. So look forward to hearing from everybody.
And be sure to check us out at techanarchy.com or google.com/plus Tech Anarchy Social. And on Facebook, it's facebook.com/Tech Anarchy Podcast. Thanks for listening.